This is section 6, derivative rules, example 2. The next rule you're going to learn is the power rule. It's very, 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 very important that you understand how to do it. It's not very difficult though. Okay, it's actually very, very simple. So I'm actually going to start with example B because it ends up being a little bit more straightforward to look at. What you're going to do when you take the power rule, when you use the power rule, is you're going to take the exponent, move it to the front, and subtract 1 from your current exponent. That's it. So if we look at this problem, we take our 6, we move it to the front, so we get 6x, and we subtract 1 from 6 to get 5. That's f prime of x. Now for example A, your exponent is actually 1. So if you take the 1 and move it to the front, it's still 1, so we get 1x to the 0 power because 1 minus 1 is 0. And anything to the 0 power is just 1, so the answer is 1. For C, we do it again. We take our 30, we bring it to the front, so we get 30t, and 30 minus 1 is 29. So S prime of t is 30t to the 29th power. Now, in order to be able to do this, we actually need an exponent. It needs to be some kind of rational number. So I'm going to rewrite the square root of x as x to the 1/2. Because you can do that when you're rewriting a root, a radical, as a rational exponent. So now we're going to take the 1/2, move it to the front. So y prime is going to be 1/2 x, and 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. That's the answer. Now, we like to have exponents with positive, where they're positive, right? Just in general. In the past, we've always made you take a negative exponent and make it positive. And so if I were to do that, if I were to simplify this, I would rewrite it as 1 over 2, and it's 1 over 2 because of that 1/2. And then x to the negative 1/2 is the same thing as 1 over the square root of x. And that's just another way of writing it. Now, in order to use this rule, our original exponents have to be in the numerator. So if x is in the denominator, we're going to have to take that x and move it to the top. And the way that you do that is by changing the sign of the power of the exponent. So the 1 over x is the same thing as x to the negative first power. Now we can apply the rule. So we can take the negative 1, move it to the front, which gives us negative x, and negative 1 minus 1, because remember you subtract 1 from the exponent, is negative 2. If I were to rewrite that as a positive exponent, it would be negative 1 over x squared, because remember to move it back down would change the sign to the positive at the bottom. For f, we're rewriting this as x to the negative 3rd power. Again, moving it to the numerator makes that exponent negative. Now I'm going to take the negative 3, move it to the front. We get negative 3x. We're subtracting 1 from negative 3, which is negative 4. And that is f prime of x. And again, if I were to rewrite this, I'd get negative 3 over x to the 4th power. For g, this is the same thing as t to the negative 1/3. It's negative because I have to move it to the top. It's 1/3 because it's a cube root. Now I apply the power rule. So I take that negative 1/3 and I put it in front. So we get negative 1/3 t, and negative 1/3 minus 1 is negative 4/3. That's s prime of t. Now, in the other problems, I've been moving it. Technically speaking, you don't have to. You simply have to know how. If it's a free response question that you're answering on the AP test, you can leave it like that. If it's not a free response question, it will most likely be moved to the bottom as the multiple choice answer. But then you just have to be able to recognize what it looks like. So, as long as you know that this is the same thing as negative 1 over 3t to the 4/3 power, you should be fine. You don't technically have to change it. All right, and then that can change to a root as well. And then for h, if I rewrite this, this is just x to the negative 3/4. So again, I'm going to take the power, move it to the front. We end up with negative 3/4 times x to the negative 7/4 because we're taking negative 3/4 and subtracting 1. And so that's your answer.